Saludos and salutations, Broncos Country, and welcome back into another exciting episode of Broncos Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, Libre and I are so excited to be with you here today. The time has come for us to finally sit down and talk about this topic that's been going around Broncos Country, and if it hasn't, then this is the first place to hear it. At least I hope so, because I did hear a couple of other people talk about it, so I figured it'd be important for us to also sit down and talk about, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to talk about training camp expectations. As you guys are already aware, as of this recording or stream, whichever one you're watching from, it is almost time for training camp to kick up. We are about close to a month, maybe-ish around there. So it is time for Libre and I to sit down and give you guys our thoughts and ideas and our expectations about what we expect to see or want to see going into a very important season of training camp. Also, the return of Broncos Overtime is coming back again. So make sure your beer is cold, your food is warm, and that you are comfortable because you do not want to miss a single second of today's show. So with that being said, here we go.
Broncos talk, let's rock, feel the energy rise. From the microphone to the fans reaching the skies. Every episode a thrill and surprise. For the love of the game, we harmonize.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adan Diaz, and joining me to my left or right, depending on which direction you are watching us, is my co-host, Bronco Libre, who is currently muted. Bronco, how you doing tonight, my friend?
What's happening? How's it going, guys?
It is going very, very good, Libre. We do kind of apologize. We were running a little bit late today. Libre and I kind of jumped in like the last 5. Normally we try to hop in between like 5 to 10 minutes. Libre kind of like to kind of talk about what's going on in our day because we haven't seen each other in like the last 3 or 4 days, if you don't count the TikToks we sent to each other.
Right?
Which are pretty funny, I have to admit. Libre's sense of humor is a lot better than mine. I keep sending him like Spanish TikToks, and he sends me like a bunch of Broncos TikToks. So
Or I sent you a couple of Bears ones. Come on, I'm not just all
yeah,
Broncos
you're
stuff.
right. There was some Bears one, so it's a nice variety, I gotta say.
Have to keep it interesting, guys. Have to.
Of course. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first time watching us, we would like to welcome you to our show. If you are not the first time and you are a returning customer, we would like to welcome you back. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get down and talk about any and all things Broncos football, like we like to do here, there are a couple things we have to get out of the way, including a very special announcement that we will get to towards the end of my really, really long speech. So make sure you guys are getting ready, because if you guys don't know already, I talk a lot and you're gonna hear it for the next 5 minutes or so. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let us begin first of all by asking you to please show your support for us here on the Orange and Blue Network. Subscribe, share, comment, and like on any and all the videos you guys see here on the network, as well as us here on the network. Your support goes a long way to helping us reach our goal of subscribers and spreading our message throughout all of Broncos Country. Also, we would like to ask you to show your support for our sister station, MHRT Network, because this is a simulcast after all, Libre, and we are streaming on 2 different channels at the exact same time. So again, subscribe, share, comment, and like on this show through their channel and through all the other shows on their channel as well. They have a lot of variety and Broncos Country talk all over. So between the 2 networks, you can never go wrong. There's plenty of content to keep you going during the day and to kind of fill in that gap from now until the next show streams, of course.
Right.
For audio listeners, please make sure 5-star reviews are very well appreciated. You can screenshot and send it to us at our socials on Twitter. Our handles are right there at the bottom. If you can't see them, mine is at a 6'10" Mexican. Bronco Libre is at Bronco Libre 5280. That's 5280. And also, we would like to thank our sponsor for today's show, which, of course, as always, is our good friends over at Dubby. So you guys might be asking yourself, if you've never heard of Dubby, what exactly Dubby is. So first of all, let me be the first to tell you that it was formulated to give you focus and energy with no jitters or crash. Their formula contains vitamins, amino acids, and nootropics including the Pandin Neurofactor formula. Basically, it contains no calories, no sugar, no maltodextrin, no fillers, and no artificial colors. Ladies and gentlemen, as I like to say here on the show every single week, it is all the good stuff without all the bad. So I'm pretty sure if you guys are like me, sometimes you can't help it. You have a cup of coffee or an energy drink here and there to kind of help you, give you that extra boost of energy to get you through all of your daily activities, which is fine. But you guys have heard it from a lot of people, if not your own physical physicians, who tell you that, that stuff is not good for you. And in excess, it's really bad and all that stuff. And that's where Dubby comes in, because they give you that boost of energy that you really need to get through your day without having to put your health at jeopardy. And to show you guys how much of a good friends we are, our good friends over at the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast that airs every single Tuesday here on the networks, they want to give you the awesome discount where you can use if you use the code NRWOB10 to get your 10% off at discount. They will hook you up. Again, that code is NRWOB10 to get your 10% off discount at checkout. Shout out to our friends over at Dubby for their continued sponsorship, I should say, throughout the network, and to our friends over at the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue for their continued support and for the hookup as well. Where will we be without Johnny Baki, I always say. And speaking of Johnny Baki, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to show you the show schedule going forward for the year. In case you guys haven't known, these are all the times that you see here on your screen for the shows. On Monday through Fridays, you can catch the Orange Blue Blitz at 11 a.m. Broncos Bros, which is a show that's coming very, very soon, will be going live Mondays at 6 p.m. The Nothing Rhymes with, of course, Tuesdays at 7. Broncos Talk, which you're currently watching now, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Viva Los Broncos, which is an all-Spanish podcast, goes live Fridays at 6. And any breaking news comes straight to you through the Fresh Squeeze. As long as you're subscribed and you hit that live notification button, you will always get the notification whenever that show goes live, so you never miss a single episode of it. And, of course, before every game day, 1 hour before kickoff, is the Get Bucked pregame show with all of the good friends you guys come to like and watch come together and talk any and all things football, get you guys ready for the game. And then after the game, regardless of win or lose, it's the Buck Your Feelings post-game show right after the game's end. So you guys get live reactions from all of us and from those in the Broncos Country chat. So make sure you guys are subscribed. That notification button is hit so you don't miss a single episode of all the shows you do here. And if you do, it's perfectly fine. You can always catch up with them after the show, and you can watch the replays afterward. And shout out to our chat.
Just saying, I'm always tired after hearing you talk.
Oh man, and one other announcement, almost forgot. We will be taking next week off, so there will be no Broncos Talk next weekend. We will be back on the 2nd of July for the next installment of Broncos Talk. So please make sure you guys write that down on your calendar so you don't forget or you don't freak out when you don't get that notification or see our pretty faces on the air next Wednesday. So we will be taking next week off on both shows. So please keep that in mind. And we cannot wait for July 2nd, even though the show hasn't exactly ended yet. But that's how excited we are. We can't wait.
Right?
So, Libre, today we are going to talk about training camp expectations. Now, I know it's a little bit early technically we're still about a month away before training camp actually starts, which is perfectly fine. But the more I see videos like from our good friend Cody Rourke and all the other lucky people that get to attend the practices and kind of give us all they can in terms of coverage and whatnot, I can't help but feel like this team seems to be ahead of the mark. There were a lot of expectations after the Broncos lost in the playoffs, Libre. And what I mean by that is like there was so much promise that we saw in that game. Now, there were errors. Don't get me wrong. Definitely were. But when you play a team like the Buffalo Bills, especially the same Bills that we squeaked a win by the year before, you kind of knew that they were not going to take it easy on us. And they definitely played like a playoff team should have. No doubt about it. Hats off to them. They walked us out of that stadium. But at least the Broncos didn't go out without a fight. Okay, it was everything that didn't supposed to happen happened, and everything that should have happened didn't. So with that going forward, you saw what could be. You saw it we didn't have a running game, obviously, and after that home run hit, it kind of felt like the Broncos offense took one step back. And as good as our defense was last year against a powerhouse like Buffalo, if you don't go toe-to-toe with them, they are going to leave you in the dark. And that's exactly what they did. So, Libre, what are your expectations going into this year's training camp? What do you want to see in terms of things of improvement, let's say?
So first of all, let's talk about this. We're exactly 4 weeks from today that the rookies report to training camp. That right there alone gets me excited. We're only 4 weeks away now. That football season is considered back. So I'm excited for that to happen. I think it's July 16th, which is when the rookies report. And then July 22nd is when the veterans report. So, of course, you have to give that extra little time for the rookies to go in there to help learn a little bit more of the playbook, even though they have all the playbook stuff itself. It's just getting them in there, getting them prepped for the season. That's the first part. And then the veterans then come in. That is the expectation where now you have everyone on the team there on that following Tuesday. So it's almost a week later. And that was the announcement just came out today by the NFL as well, that all teams are reporting to training camp when rookies report, veterans report, and all that. Some teams report a little bit earlier than others just because of the preseason games and so forth. But going to our topic about the Broncos, what our expectations are, what we need to do. Right now, we've already done everything that the Broncos needed to do is to address the needs of positions that we were lacking in and so forth throughout this offseason. And then during the season itself, where how you're talking about with the Bills game and so forth, where we just got, they just destroyed us in certain aspects of the game itself. We've addressed those. So this team right now, the expectation is that I have for these guys, they chose us basically to come here. They come and sign to us. We agreed to that to a contract with them. But now my expectation is now you're here in the Mile High City. Let's go out there and bust your butts out there and get this together. Think of it as one team. That's what we need it as right now is one team. We have one common goal. You guys came here for a reason because you see the opportunity that we did last year and with the opportunities that this team is going to be able to do and make a bigger push within the playoffs itself and possibly getting into that Super Bowl. I feel like these guys that are already here, like Greenlaw, Evan Ingram, and J.K. Dobbins, they know how special this team is right now, and they're just on the verge, and they feel like they're those one or two pieces that are now on this team that's going to help propel their careers into that next level and getting them into that playoff. But it starts here now, and it's like Bo Nick said it perfectly during the last year. You have to go back to basics. You have to go back and do your steps and whatnot. Everyone doesn't like doing just the basic football trainings and so forth like that. but that's what's necessary to get you to that next level to be better than your opponent. And that's what my expectation is. You're going back down to the basics, getting down there, doing your drop steps, your 7-step drop step itself, or whatever it is for linemen's, getting your footwork in there, getting your handwork for the defensive lineman, the swim move, the rip move. But this is where you work on that craft right now, and then just going in there and reading that playbook and just studying it and getting ready for this upcoming season. And trust me, I know that George Payton, Sean Payton is going to get these guys ready for this upcoming season, and it's going to be a phenomenal year, and I cannot wait.
You know what? Now that we have J.K. Dobbins signed on to the team, and if you guys missed that episode, please go back and watch it after this one, because it was a really great episode where Libre kind of and I went into detail about the acquisition of J.K. Dobbins. I'm pretty sure that they're going to make this into a running back competition, quote unquote, even though technically it really shouldn't be, because RJ Harvey has never taken a snap in the league yet. So to have somebody that's has veterancy like J.K. Dobbins and try to compare him to, RJ Harvey, who's literally just coming into the league, is, to me, it's a bit of lunacy. And I feel it's a bit of a stretch. So I really do hope the Broncos don't go down that road, because to be honest with you, me personally, I don't know about you, Libre, but I'm so tired of them coming up with these quote unquote competitions, because to me, it kind of feels like it's just like a media grab, and yeah, go ahead. You're gonna say.
For me itself, I don't feel like this is a competition for these guys. These guys are, I think, the way that they set this up for us itself. RJ Harvey is right now is the starter, just because that he's the second pick in the draft for us. But I think they brought in J.K. Dobbins as being that veteran leadership, the guy that's going to be able to push him along. Because J.K. Dobbins, he hasn't had a season where he's played all year long, where he's played every single game for the season itself. So what they're going to be doing here, they're going to be using these guys as a 1-2 punch. So it might be where RJ Harvey might have first and second down, and then J.K. Dobbins being that third or fourth down guy that's going to be that monster that's going to be in there. So this is how I feel that they're going to do that with these guys, and not have that competition of who's going to be the number one overall running back. I feel like that's why J.K. Dobbins came here and says, you know what? Let's go ahead and do this, because I see the potential that this offense has, how great this defense is already, and being able to be part of this team. I'm going to do whatever I need to do for the team and not be that true competition itself to have and take away snaps from someone else. But let's share this opportunity. Let's go in there and let's be that Mike Tyson 1-2 punch, and then we're out there. And I feel like that's how these guys are thinking and approaching this upcoming season. And I'm super excited to see this. We haven't had a running game like this in such a long time, and I'm excited for it.
Mm-hmm. And I do apologize, Shy. I did not click your comment earlier. And he says, "Hey, Bronco Libre.
What's up, Shy? What's happening?"
Is it you got the authentic Bronco Libre salute? So you should be honored, Shy. Not too many people get that. And he also has a question for us, Libre. He says, who do you think the Broncos starting running back is going to be week 1?
I think I just said it for myself. I think RJ Harvey is going to be the number one running back right now. And if you go on to the Broncos depth chart, you're going to see RJ Harvey as the number one guy right now. But again, that could change depending on what happens during training camp. But I feel like it's RJ Harvey's job to lose there. Basically, they're giving it to him, but it's also with the contingency that you're there to work on it. But again, like I was just saying, it's that 1-2 punch. He's not going to be that every down back for us. They're going to share that position itself. So, which makes it such an ideal position that the Broncos are in right now.
To answer your question, Shy, I think that the Broncos are going to ride the hot hand, and I still think that's RJ Harvey. Just for the simple fact that I feel like he's going to have a chip on his shoulder, and he's going to have to go out there and prove that the Broncos were right in letting Javonte Williams go. Okay.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people, as we've been watching it, we were kind of like, we felt that because we didn't get the Ashton Genty, or we didn't get the his name escapes me. The one that went to the Chargers.
Or Marion Hampton.
Yeah, Hampton. Thank you. So a lot of people felt that because we didn't get either one of those two players, that it didn't matter what the Broncos did in the draft. That they weren't, the offense wasn't going to be good because they didn't get a big name running back. So that's where RJ Harvey comes in, and he basically has to put all the doubters to sleep, just like Bo Nix did last year when everybody came out critiquing and judging Bo Nix and all that. You guys have noticed that nobody since the draft has come out and said anything bad outside of Broncos country, mind you, like they did last year about Bo Nix. Not one person that I've seen so far. If you've seen it, send it to me on my Twitter, and so I can see and react to it. But as far as I've seen, where it was last year, where everybody was talking about the Broncos being one of the worst teams in football, and Bo Nix was going to be a bust, and that he was a reach, and Sean Payton was more likely going to get fired at mid to or end of the season. Like all the bad things that the Broncos really did in 2022 was going to come back and catch them in 2024, especially over losing Russell Wilson, the whole cap hit issue. Everything was against us all summer long last year, and we all had to kind of ride that wave. And we here, we're kind of like, we didn't know. Obviously, we're always going to side with our team. We're Broncos fans for life. But like, what if they're right? What if Bo Nix isn't the guy? What if Sean Payton's offense fails? All these what ifs were just kind of just sticking in your mind, and thank God that everything played out the way it did, and none of that happened. The only issue that the Broncos had last year, really big issue offensively, was the fact that they didn't have a running game, and not having a running game put Bo Nix in positions where he didn't need to be. And in those first 2 weeks, it was really hard watching because when Bo Nix has to force the ball, especially as a rookie, it's not always going to go the way you want to go. So to me, I think that J.K. Dobbins coming in, I don't think he's coming in to take the job away from RJ Harvey. If anything, I think that they play him a little bit safer, like on a count, just to make sure he doesn't injure himself. Okay, because you guys have to remember that, because behind RJ Harvey, if Dobbins goes down, then you have your Estime, you have your McLaughlin, and you have your Tyler Beatty. One of those guys I don't believe is going to make it past preseason. I think one of those guys is going to end up on the waiver wire, probably Beatty or practice squad, I should say. So whoever the running backs are that make it in, I really do hope that they can learn to mesh together and work with that offensive line and be that running game attack that these Broncos desperately need. Because as much as we love Bo Nix, as much as we love to see him make plays and throws and all that, he cannot keep throwing the ball 90% of the time, because we've seen what happens when he does. It only takes one bad play to turn that game completely around and turn a possible Broncos win into a definite Broncos loss.
And you're right, because just how at the end of last year, we were set and we were one-dimensional. We weren't at that point where we had that running game where we could actually use a play action and do all that, because teams are like, well, they don't have a running game. We're not going to bite on that play action. We know that Bo Nix is going to have to throw the ball, and that's what ended up hurting us, especially in the playoffs itself. But I feel with the addition to J.K. Dobbins, this is not only going to be that was the best move by adding him to the roster itself, because not only is he a great running back, he's also a great receiving running back as well, which is having him as a dual threat. Teams now have to wait and watch out to see, are they running or are they going to pass to him? And that's that best case scenario that we as a team needed to have the help for this upcoming year.
Yeah, and our good friend D-Rock says, "Hey, Don Libre,
what's happening, Vato Loco?"
My high salute to you, my friend. He also goes on to say, Libre, I truly believe the offense will have the ball a lot because the defense will create 3-and-outs and turnovers.
True that.
Now, you're right about that, because the defense definitely did get better this offseason, just like the offense, which is a really beautiful thing to say, because normally you only have one side of the ball that kind of tips over the other. Either the offense in an offseason gets really good and the defense tries to stay the same, or it gets worse depending on what happens through free agency, or if players decide to retire, or vice versa, where the defense gets really good, but the offense kind of can't catch up and it suffers through the same thing, either through loss of players, through free agency, or if they just unfortunately decide to retire. But basically, the Broncos were able to elevate both of those positions almost equally, to be honest with you. Like, there's just a slight marginal difference between the offense and the defense. Obviously, the defense was running on all cylinders last year. They were one of the team. They were the only team, if I'm not mistaken, that had the most sacks out of all the teams last year. Our secondary, if it wasn't for the fact that PS2 had to miss some time and Riley Moss had to miss some time, could have really, really been one of the best secondaries in the league throughout the entire season, and not just in like spots. You know what I mean? So, but with the additions that they made over the offseason and in the draft, like I think the other big splash that you guys have heard today was Jair Alexander signing with the Ravens. So the Ravens, I believe, are going to be like that team that's really going to be nipping at the heels of the Broncos, because the Ravens secondary on paper looks really good, Libre. I gotta give credit where credit is due. And
of course,
Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry are going to come in and do their thing. So they're one of the teams that, when the Broncos make the playoffs, because this isn't no more if, when they make it, it's going to be a team like the Ravens that the Broncos are really going to have to try to push by and, not only set the bar or beat the bar, I should say, but set the bar as well.
No, I agree. But I also feel, though, like with Alexander, when he went over there and he just recently signed with them, that was also a need for them as well. You could see that in the playoffs. But I feel like they're also making that push as well. Because I think they recruited him to go there, I feel like. But either way, it's a great move for them. I think that the AFC itself, again, year after year, the AFC is always going to be part of the stronger division itself. Adding him to this division is only going to make us go out there and play better. And I feel like if we go defense to defense with them, trust me, I think our defense is going to do a lot better. Even though they have the best running back in the league, we're still going to be that much better for him, because, again, you're going to end up stopping him. He's going to get too tired. They're going to have to throw the ball. And guess who they're going to be throwing it to? Lamar's going to end up throwing it to PS2's way, and he'll do a pick six. I could already see that happening. Because we'll meet in the playoffs. I feel like that's where we're going to be meeting him out, is there in the playoffs. And I'm excited for it. Hopefully it's here in the Mile High City.
The only correction I have for you, Libre, is, to me, I think that the best running back in the game is Saquon Barkley. Derrick Henry is definitely in contention, but when you compare what they both did, it's like not even close in terms of saying which number. That's just me. Okay. So, but then again, Derrick Henry did run crazy on us, and it didn't help that we had a backup secondary, one of the worst secondary players outside of Levi Wallace, mind you. At that day, to not only try to deal with Derrick Henry but Lamar Jackson as well. But excuse me, Paul Schaefer has another question for us, and he says, aren't Estime and Jaleel a signal to defenses that we are running the ball? To answer your question, Paul, yes, they can. But see, that's where offensive schemes come in. If you're going to try to fool a defense like the Ravens, that's going to be good, then you want to use guys like Estime and Jaleel as just kind of to throw them off. Now, obviously, those two guys, compared to what we have in J.K. Dobbins now and what we're going to see out of R.J. Harvey, is not going to be the same. So if you want to use them as blockers, you can, just to try to give Bowles some extra time. If you want to use them in if you're going to run a screen type of thing. I mean, there are different ways where you can use Estime and Jaleel in terms of not making it obvious that you're going to run the ball. I know Estime, he fights for yards in the tackle box, kind of like what we saw in a young Javante and McLaughlin. He's got speed, man. So when you use McLaughlin, to me, I'd pretty much be thinking, or would be thinking, I should say, that you're going to run some type of screen option, or I remember where he ran that. I think it was a wheel route, or he ran a quick route when here in Chicago, and he was the first one to put the touchdown on the board from Russell Wilson. So there are plenty of ways you can run guys like Estime and Jaleel, considering that they make the team, mind you, where you can hide different schemes that are not running plays. They can be play action. They can be, like I said, a screen.
You called it right there, play action.
And the nice thing about having a guy like Sean Payton is if something doesn't work on the field, you can always go back to the drawing board and just kind of change it up and make it different, make it so it work, make it so you can disguise it, and it is not so obvious for the opposing defense to guess what the play is and get some yards in and make sure that neither one of those guys fumbles the ball.
And that's going to be the key as well for this upcoming year, is that making sure that you handle that ball, because that's going to be key. But going back to with Estime and Javale, like the Estime is more of that powerhouse running back that I feel like we should have used in the playoffs against the Bills, but why he wasn't used still baffles me. But again, like how you're saying with JaVale and using them with the play action, that's going to be our key move. I feel like this year is going to be able to use that play action, which we were not able to do the last several years. But I feel like this year, that's going to be one of our plays. I feel like we're going to be using a lot, because now the teams are going to have to respect the run. And it's going to happen.
I do too. Again, this is where a guy like Sean Payton has to come in and earn his paycheck. So, and I trust in him completely. You know, versus before when we were with what's his name, Hackett. You know, it kind of makes you wonder, like, what the hell, what kind of record or team or scheme we would have been running, even if he would have had the chance to do what he was supposed to do, instead of going up there on that podium every single week and literally lying to us and, you know, trying to mask all of the mistakes and errors that was the whole Russell Wilson experience. And we were literally just on a boat watching it go down in flames that season.
But I feel like with Nathaniel Hackett, when he came in, he really thought that he was going to be getting Aaron Rodgers. And I feel like that's his whole game plan was, all right, I'm going to be the main guy. I'm going to bring in Aaron Rodgers, and that's what I'm going to do. He didn't have a backup plan. He didn't do anything like that. And I feel that that's where his downfall was at. Is like, I'm going to be there. I'm going to bring in Rodgers because that's my quarterback. We've been here long enough. Like I've been there in Green Bay. That's what I want to do. So I feel like it was just a disaster from the beginning, because Rodgers decided to stay in Green Bay that year, and Nathaniel was like, all right, I don't know what to do. I have Russ coming in the first year. Like, I don't like, and I think that was just what hurt overall.
I agree. And the other expectation that I'm expecting to see, Libre, is I want to see how Evan Ingram works in this system. Ingram has been getting a lot of positivity in Broncos country lately, which is perfectly fine. But again, I always tell people you have to be wary when you see things like that, because it's almost kind of like, I know people don't want to hear Brock Bowers, but or George Kittle, those high-rated tight ends, watching them do what they do, you know you're going to expect great things from them, you know, because they've been calibrated to be great players. With Ingram, he's coming into his third team into a different system with a different quarterback. So don't get me wrong, I want him to succeed. I want Evan Ingram to be every single thing that he said he was going to be and what he is expected, because we definitely needed a Broncos country. I know that there was I forget the name of the other tight end that they got in the draft, and not a lot of people were big on
Caleb
it.
Lohner.
Thank you. Not a lot of people were big on it, but again, just don't knock it until we see it on the field. Let's see what he can do, and we just we just need to improve on this, Leroy, because not having a big tight end out there, not having a tight end like the others on different teams last year really hurt Bo Nix's chances. And while Cortland Sutton is going to be is great as always, Mims is starting to come around, and we still haven't seen that much from Vele and Franklin. And hell, now we got to add Pat Bryant into that conversation as well. So we're going to see what he can do in camp. I am really excited to see what Evan Ingram brings to this offense.
So one thing I can say about Evan Ingram is that when you hear a lot of the national media talking about it, that's when you want to, like how you say, you want to be concerned about it. When you hear it from the coaches, the coaches are there to help hype up the team, hype up the players. But just some of the stuff that just with Sean Payton, when asked just about certain players or whatnot, especially about Evan Ingram, like he had like a little smirk, like he's that guy, like he's that like the quote unquote Joker guy that they labeled him early when we signed him. But when you have other like the local media that's out there, and when they see him out there thinking like, yeah, he's a veteran tight end and so forth, but what they've been saying, and this is like the DMVR people, like Cody Rourke is all that and saying, is that he's a lot faster than what they expected him to be, especially at his age right now. And that right there just excites me. Yes, they're here to talk about and report on the Broncos itself, but when they're in there talking about it, because they actually have more they can get their eyes on the players a lot faster than us fans and whatnot. So, but being able to see that and hear them talk about that just right there excites me even more about what he's going to be able to do for this team. He is going to be able to help Bo Nix in so much more than anybody could even ask for, because that's what we were missing last year, is that outlet that he needed. He couldn't just rely on Troy Franklin when he should have, but last year he did struggle a little bit. But being able to not just always be on Cortland Sutton as being the number one, if we can get him to have that little outlet and having that joker player there, that's what excites me even more about this team. I feel like this team is so dangerous right now that the teams in the league, in the national media, don't realize and understand that, and they're just so blinded with it, with everything else that's going on, which I love. Let them do that, because they're going to be coming here at the end of the season and they're like, wait, where did the Denver Broncos come from? They just came out of nowhere. And that's what I love about this, is like, we're going to be that underdog all year long until we hit that playoffs and we're like, wait, what happened with these guys? Where did they really come from? And why are they so dangerous? So that's what just excites me itself. And I have a couple comments I see here with the Raider Shield family. You know what? I agree with you 100%. The AFC West is the best division right now in the NFL. You cannot go in there and tell me that it's not. Look at all of the quality quarterbacks. Like we talked about, all the players out there, the coaches in general. We have national champions, we have Super Bowl champion coaches and so forth. I'm super excited for it. I can't wait for this upcoming season. And it's going to show that, yes, this division, the AFC West, is the best one out there in the league.
No doubt about it, my friend. The AFC West will always be the best division in all of football, even if all four teams end up one day to be garbage. Of course, the Broncos never will, but they are number one. Don't let anybody ever tell you different.
Just remember that Raider Shield.
Yeah. And Shai Vargas has another question for us. He says, do you think Troy Franklin will have a breakout season, Leroy?
Shai, yes. Just with some of the information that has come out, especially during this last week of OTAs, Troy Franklin has put on about 15 pounds of muscle, talking about strength, talking about taking care of his body, talking about like what his expectation is from a rookie year to the second year player he's going to be there. I feel like he's taking those steps. Like he is going to have a breakout season, and that's one of those players that people are not going to have a true understanding of what he can do. You saw there the year before, their last year in Oregon, what he's able to do, his capabilities. Last year, for some reason, it didn't connect, and it could have been where the game just escaped him a little bit, that it's a little bit too fast for him. Now that he understands it and he has a year under his belt within the league, trust me that Troy Franklin is going to have a breakout year, and he's going to be turning people's heads. I'm excited for it.
I really do hope so, Shai, because with a guy like Pat Bryant coming in, if Pat Bryant goes in and steals the show and Troy Franklin going into his second year cannot elevate himself and fix his mistakes from last, then it doesn't matter what his history with Bo Nix is. This team has already showed, this ownership has already showed that they are only going to keep the best. And if you're not playing up to par, if you're not playing to the expectations that are expected of you, you will either get lowered or benched, or worst case scenario, cut. So I want to give the benefit of the doubt to Troy. Troy does seem to be the smaller of the wide receivers, if I'm not currently mistaken. So he is speedy. He is fast. He just needs to be able to grip the ball with his hands, just like he did in that catch against Buffalo. So if he can do that consistently, then he will definitely earn a spot here and make it harder for anybody else coming into the league, whether one goes and one comes in, to try to take his spot from him.
So what I love about these guys right now, who we have, with it being Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, going with Pat Bryant. If these guys can mesh well, and I feel like Bo Nix is, you already seen the videos that are out there that Bo Nix has and is coaching these guys on the field already. Just with that, if we're going to be out there, it's going to be hard for any defense, any secondary to cover these guys, because you're like, all right, who are we going to cover at this point? Like, all four of these guys are out there and they're just burning us. Like, what? Like, we can't stop these guys, because you can go in and start picking, like, all right, who's going up against the weakest player right now? That's who we're going to target. That's who, like, and that's the best case scenario for us right now. If we can get these guys to be at that level, we're going to be unstoppable. And it could be where we can chase that record for when Peyton Manning had the touchdown record this upcoming year, which I feel is very, very capable, very possible for this team right now.
Was that the year, the Peyton Manning year? Was that
2013, his first year? Yeah. That was the second year. It was the second year he was here, because I was
about to say second year, because his first year was 2012.
Yep, it was the second year when he broke all those records itself. So
yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of expectations, D-Rock, going into this training camp. You mentioned Troy Franklin, somebody that we talked about. Of course, Cortland Sutton. Those catches, got to work on it, man. Like, this man is a vet. It's kind of crazy that he can make any circus catch you can think of. You can watch the highlight reel all day and wonder how the hell did he catch that. And when it's something simple that should hit him between the numbers or in between the hands, and you just see him fumble it, like, it just eats at you. Like, how the hell did you not catch that? So that's definitely got to be worked upon. We talked about the tight ends, Libre. We talked about the running game. Now let's talk about Bo Nix. What is it that you're expecting to see out of Bo Nix coming into year two?
Part of it is being the leader that he should be. And my thing is, you already see it. I just mentioned it here earlier, that he's already taken in control. People, the other players on the team are actually listening. It doesn't matter if they are in the league for the last 10 years or not, but they're listening. They're listening to what he's saying. He has taken the time to understand this offense that Peyton has put in. And you could already see it. Because he's directing people. All right, this is the route that you need to do. You need to go here. You need to go there. That's what I need to see him to continue to do that and be the leader on and off the field itself. And you already see that. I'm excited for it, but he just needs to continue to do that. And I feel like with that, people have already gained his respect for the game, the way he studies, the way he learns it, the way he understands it. And people, you can already see people respect his decisions, what he's having to say, because they're listening to it. We have video of it.
I wholeheartedly agree. I know one thing that was kind of rubbing Johnny Baki the wrong way a couple weeks ago was when people started comparing or saying that Bo Nix was going into a sophomore slump, quote, quote unquote. Basically, they were trying to compare him to what we saw in CJ Stroud. What CJ Stroud put on tape this past year, that's the definition of a sophomore slump. So,
whoa, did you just see that?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if this is for us, but we're gonna put it on here. This is a donation, a YouTube donation from Raider Shield family who donates $10 for the super chat. He says, firing this out for you to know I am always on MHRT with Rich, Jack, and D2. I remain respectful. I am Raiders always, AFC West secondly. I want our division back on top. It starts this year.
You know what? And one thing with Raider Shield, I want to let you know is that I'm an advocate. You can check this on all my social medias. I'm a fan of fans. I love that you're a fan of who your team is. As long as you're respectful, we have good banter and so forth. That's what makes sports here in America so great, is that if you can do that, be respectful. You can have your little disagreements or whatnot, but you're always being respectful. You always appreciate the love of the game itself, and that's the best thing. And again, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for the donation. Can't thank you enough, brother.
Yeah, and just so you know, you are the very first donation we have ever gotten on Broncos Talk. For the length of time, ever since its initial start, we have never had a donated super chat. So thank you so much. We are very, very well appreciated. And to answer your question, I'm still kind of in shock. I can't believe it. Rich, I don't know if he's ever said it on his show, but he used to be on this show. He was my former co-host long time ago. So, he was one of the people that helped me build this show before it got taken off the air for a while. So, and I'm very grateful that Libre was kind and nice enough to step in for one of our good friends who is still healing, and he will be back one day. But Libre, thank you so much for stepping up and taking time out of your day to be here with me and talk about Broncos football 2 days a week in English and in Spanish. But
of course,
just to let everybody out there know, especially those that are listening to us on audio after the fact, because you more likely can't see what we're looking at. But when you have fans like this, and like Raider Shield also says, healthy banter is okay, it is definitely very well appreciated. And us as hosts, and I'm pretty sure the other guys, when they get whiff of this, they'll definitely be surprised and grateful as well. We do this as a family. There will be times where Libre and I more than likely are going to disagree on certain things and acquisitions and players and whatnot. That's totally fine. But at
J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we're Broncos fans. We're family all alike. We're brothers. So that's just what it comes to. But again, thank you so much, Raider Shield family.
Appreciate you 100%. Can't thank you enough.
100%, man. He also says that he's a budding channel with 160 subs. We have a good time on Monday and Friday, best in 9. I'm sorry, 8 o'clock Eastern. I thought it said best. 8 o'clock Eastern and 9 o'clock Eastern, respectfully. So yeah, if you guys want to go and help him with his show and talk banter with him, defend the Broncos name, I'm sure, just like Raider Shield goes on here to our channels and defends the Raider name.
Right.
But shoot us an email. Raider, hit Libre or myself up on our Twitters, and let's get something going, because we do ask the fan segment. So we've already done it once with my best friend Eric, who's a Bears fan, and we're going to get a fan. We're trying to get a fan from every single team to come on the show and not only defend their team, but kind of just like you said, banter, if you will. So we'd love to have you on. Let us know when your availability is, and we will definitely work out something with you. But going back to my point about Bo Nix that I probably can't remember because I'm old. But yeah, the whole CJ Stroud thing going into, his sophomore slump, that definitely was a huge surprise. And I'm pretty sure as Texans fans, they're really worried because now they don't have Stephon Diggs. And now it's just, Nico Collins and Tank Dell, I think, seems to be done. I don't think that he's going to come back. And if he does come back, it'll definitely not be anywhere close to what he was before his injury. So the Texans have their own issues to worry about. And, D'Amico Ryans, I'm pretty sure he's got to be sweating a little bit, because and I can see why people are thinking or trying to or say or feel that Bo Nix might fall into that category, but I can assure you that's definitely not the case. There's a huge difference in D'Amico Ryans and Sean Payton. All right. Sean Payton in his first year was able to turn around Russell Wilson with what little he had. And if it wasn't for management or if it wasn't for Sean, it doesn't matter who was the one that pulled the trigger to get Russell Wilson out of Denver. Having him here would have probably helped Russell Wilson become a little bit better as he's aging, and because we all saw what he was in 2022, and it was kind of just like the Russell Wilson show, letting him do whatever he want, his own office, his own parking space, his own private chef, and all of that bull jive. But when you bring in a guy like Sean Payton, and Sean Payton was sitting from his not his couch, but Colin Cowherd's couch, just kind of talking smack that 1 year. It's kind of like put your money where your mouth is, and that's exactly what he did. And he came to Denver, and he started to turn this team around. He pulled them out of that rut that some teams take years to get out of, and he's bringing this team back. And he is trying his very best to go toe-to-toe with the very best in the AFC West. What little there is anyway. And in the AFC, because as you guys are seeing, we talked about the Ravens earlier. They're stacking the deck on their hand. The Chiefs, as much as we want to count them out, they seem to be, as long as Patrick Mahomes is driving that ship, they're always going to be a handful and always going to be hard to deal with. And there are other teams in the AFC West, Libre, that are just going to be a thorn in the Broncos' side. The Buffalo Bills. I guess we owe the Miami Dolphins a game or two, so definitely can't wait to face them again after the shellacking they gave us 2 years ago with Tyreek Hill. So there's a lot riding into this training camp, Libre, and I cannot wait.
So before we go there, I just want to talk about just during this last year, when we saw Bo Nix talking about that sophomore slump that everyone is out there talking about, you saw, like how you said, CJ Stroud. But the problem is Bo Nix never plateaued. He just got better and better and better throughout the whole year itself. And I feel like with Sean Payton's offense, he did not have the full playbook. Now the playbook is getting opened a little bit more for him. He's just going to be getting better and better. And Sean Payton, I feel he does that for a reason. Look what he did there with the Saints when he had Drew Brees. I feel like this is the same type of scenario that's going on here. And with CJ Stroud, he started off strong. He had that. And he plateaued. That's what I feel like is also going to happen in Washington as well with Jaden Daniels. Because he started off so strong, he was already up here and he plateaued. And then throughout the season, he just was there leveling out. And I feel like he may have a sophomore slump because I feel like he already plateaued. I don't think Bo Nix has yet, and I'm super excited for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just got a $20 donation from Raider Shield family. And he goes,
Mile
just
high salute,
because
brother.
on this super chat, I will help you as well. I am shocked you have not gotten one yet and got it from a Raider fan. My chat will remain respectful, but can expect some jokes. We have, quote, the Raider Shield Comedy Club, end quote.
Perfect.
I mean,
Hey, everyone out there right now, I want you to go out to the Raider Shield Family's channel and please follow them. I'm going to be doing that right after the show. I'm going to go in there, follow them. And this is so perfect. I love this. You know, divisional rivals, you know, we're here to support each other. We're here to boost each other up. That's what we're here as the fan of fans. That's what I love about it.
I mean, I'm still shocked, man. I mean, you know what this reminds me of, man, and I don't care if people laugh, but before I started Broncos Talk, where it was literally just me in front of this very same computer, and I bought this microphone, and before I even hit the record button, before Mundungus and Glenn Hauser, shout out to those guys, reached out to me and asked me to be a part of their show, like, I never thought I could do this. Like, I honestly didn't. Like, I would watch the M8, the Mile High Huddle guys every single show, and I would always see Mundungus there. I would always see Glenn there. I would always see Christy there, and all the other people I've met along the way. And I always wanted to be like those guys. You know, maybe not so much in popularity, but I just wanted to let people know how I felt about my team. And I knew that there was a good chance where all the sound of my voice, all my shows, everything would just fall on deaf ears. And I was ready for that, and that's fine. And if it's just me talking into a microphone and nobody ever listens, I'd be fine with that, because I knew it'd be out there, and then maybe somehow, some way, somebody would find it one day. So to go from that, and if you go back and hear my very first episode, it is like terrible because I wasn't even using this mic. I was actually using my webcam mic. I didn't realize it. And it was just like, when I heard it back, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to get a single subscriber. And then Chris Hernandez came. You guys have heard me talk about him a million times on the show. Shout out to him. And he became a sponsor of the show, like a monthly donate. He donated $5 a month to the Broncos Talk podcast show. And it was just great. So I'm thankful to him. I'm thankful to you, Raider Shield family, and you know, when we talk about this in the future, it's gonna make a great icebreaker story. Like when'd you get your first super chat? Oh, it's from a Raiders fan.
Exactly. And what better story to have to go out there. And I just love this, that, you know, this is the type of community that I want to be a part of, is that we're supporting each other. We're out here supporting our teams and so forth. And just how, like he said it earlier, it's a great banter. That's only the best thing to do, is out there. It's going to be fun. It's going to be comical, but and that's what makes this fun to do this as well, is that you're able to have these type of conversations with other fans that are respectful, that are going to have some good banter and so forth. And this is what I love, you know, I love it. Thank you so much. We appreciate you 100%.
Yeah, definitely. And we do a Friday show, Raider Shield. So we will try to pop into your show and say hello and repay the favor somehow. But I just again, I don't know how many times I can say thank you
right,
without sounding so ahead of myself, but thank you.
Appreciate you 100%.
Yeah, definitely. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Libre and I have reached the end of regulation, which means it is time for us to go into overtime. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, this is your first time watching this part of the segment. This is where Libre and I kind of let our hair down figuratively and we talk about anything going on in our life, whatever comes to our mind, whatever it is we want to get off our chest. This is the time to do it. Same thing with you guys. If there's anything you guys want to talk about, advice, anything going on in your life that we can try to help you with, all good. If not, then we will try to find a way to bring it back to the Broncos, but no guarantees that will happen. So, to be honest with you guys, I kind of feel like I feel special today. I feel bonita. Libre, I can't hear you. Are you muted? No, I still can't hear you.
What about now?
I heard you. Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay, that's strange. I'm not sure what happened there, but first, before we do anything else, if Raider Shield, if they're still on, we are actually off next week, but we'll be back on the 2nd.
Yeah, I think he had to go because he said
Okay.
see you next time. So,
All right.
but I hope he subscribes so that way he gets the notification.
Heck yeah. But again, that's one guy that we're definitely going to have to subscribe to and show support as well. Be a supporter.
Yeah, definitely, man. Because there was that other guy that was in here. His name is Nick Dickinson. He said, "Don't know you, but here to show support to people just starting out repping their team. He lives in the Maha area and he wants to do Niner videos, so he appreciates the work."
Yes, sir. Of course, hey, Nick, I'm also here in the Mile High City. So if you're here still listening, please send me a DM. Let's talk. Let's maybe we can do a collab or do something. I post a lot of Bronco videos and so forth right now too. So I'll be more than happy to do a collab, especially since with the announcement of today that the Broncos are going to have two during training camps is two dual training camps where they're going to have one with the 49ers and then one with the Arizona Cardinals here. So one in San Francisco or Santa Clara, and then one here in Denver with the Cardinals.
Yeah, definitely. But Raider Shield, I don't know if you're still here, but I'm pretty sure you didn't catch any of our previous episodes where we talked about the Raiders. So in the sense of healthy banter, I'm gonna have to stand on business and tell you everything that I said about the Raiders in the past that currently I still feel about now. I still think that hiring Pete Carroll was not a good idea. I think that you guys going and bringing Geno Smith was not a good idea. And I just kind of feel like there's a reason why Pete Carroll was pushed out of Seattle, for the same reason that Russell Wilson was pushed out of Seattle. Now, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me because if Pete Carroll was going to leave a year later, then why push Russell out? And Geno Smith had like one good season in Seattle, and then he was pretty much irrelevant the last two, where Seattle didn't even make the playoffs after that 1 year where he quote unquote didn't write back. So there's a lot of improvements that the Raiders needed to make, and neither one of those are going to be substantial where you can say, okay, now the Raiders can go toe-to-toe with the Broncos, who swept them. Now they can go toe-to-toe with the Chargers. Now they can try to go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs, who swept them as well. So it didn't make any sense. To me, after you guys lost Chucky, and I hate to admit this, but Chucky was probably the best chance you guys had at a comeback because he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew how to coach. And if it wasn't for that stupid email incident or whatever that happened that he did, you guys would definitely be a much better team right now. And again, I think Bisaccia, who was the interim head coach, he should have stayed because that guy looked like he was ready to lead a team. And the Raiders players really respected him. And the fact that they did not offer him a job or try to and let him walk, and instead you guys went through the whole thing that you did. I'm not going to lie to you, as a Broncos fan, that made my day. It made me laugh. But on the other hand, it was just kind of like, what are you guys doing? I just like, I don't know. But again, I the best thing you guys got right now offensively is Brock Bowers. Honestly, to me. So it definitely, but again, I say that with respect because I said the same thing about Harbaugh last year, and I ate crow on the show. And I admitted I was wrong. I thought Harbaugh was not going to be able to do anything with the Chargers. I thought the Chargers were going to be, another flame out, and they came out and they swept us. So we have a score to settle with the Chargers. You guys have a score to settle with us. We both have a score to settle with the Chiefs, even though we split with them and they split with you guys. So it's kind of like everybody's at each other's neck.
So I'm just seeing here like all the comments that Raider Shield is putting on right now. And yes, we'll definitely put you on a show so that we can talk about this, so that you can do a rebuttal of everything that Adon was saying, so that we can have that good conversation about it. We'll link up. We'll go ahead and get you on so that we do, like how we were talking about earlier, we do a fan segment, and we'd love to have you on for sure. And then I'm just excited for this upcoming season, and both with the Raiders too, because of what they were able to do during this offseason. Yes, they also got a lot better as well, which that's what I love about, like when we were talking about earlier, about this division is being the best in the league itself. And because of how much better all the teams within the division just got better. Did KC get better? Maybe not, but definitely with the Chargers, with us and you guys, we did get better with the additions of the offseason, with the draft itself, which that's what I love seeing. Didn't like when Omarion Hampton was picked two picks right after ours, but we did ours as a need, even though we did need a running back at the time, but we did it as the best player available, and that's how we got Barron. And I stand behind that that's the better move than going over and getting Omari Hampton itself. So I'm excited to see it, though. It's going to be fun. Actually, they went to the Chargers. I'm sorry. You guys got Genty at 6. Sorry. But yeah, it's going to be a fun season. I love it. Can't wait.
Yeah, I forgot all about Genty until you mentioned him. So
yeah,
and a lot of people outside of I don't know what Raider Nation, I guess they call themselves.
Yeah,
are kind of divided about Genty. Some people think he's going to be a bust. Some people think he's going to be a monster, the next Saquon or Barkley or whatever you want to, whoever your GOAT running back is, I guess, in your mind. So, but again, as Raider Shield keeps saying, like, nobody will know until the pads are donned. So,
and 100% correct.
Yeah, and 100% correct. I agree. So until the pads are donned, nobody knows what to do or what to expect. However, the Raiders have already had a really good running back in the past, and that was Josh Jacobs. So Josh Jacobs, for some reason, played his best games against our Broncos. But most of the time when he played against other teams, it was kind of like, he wasn't the greatest against them, but he was like so. But it was just something about always having the Broncos number that still irritates me. And the fact that even though he's a Packer now, it's still kind of like, why don't you just retire, bro?
Right.
That crabby about it. Paul Schaefer says Genty is the next Sanders. Great running back on a bad team. So by Sanders, I'm guessing he's talking about Barry Sanders, who was with the Lions.
I feel so. I feel that's what he's referencing. Yeah.
And Raider Shield says, "Gotta go. Much love, y'all, from Eastern Tennessee." You know, that's crazy because the owner of the Orange and Blue Network lives in Tennessee. So try to see if you can reach out to Johnny Baki and get a conversation going with him.
Si, senor.
I don't know exactly where in Tennessee Johnny lives, but I know he lives in Tennessee. But thank you so much, Raider Shield, for all the love. And
Appreciate the love, brother.
yeah, very well appreciated. And I'm telling you, one of these days we will definitely find a way to repay it back to you, and we will definitely have you on this show.
Definitely.
But Paul Schaefer says, "I hate the Chargers, Kansas City, then the Raiders." In that order.
In that order. I love it, Paul. Love it.
Definitely. Well, you know what? As rivals, it's understandably so. You know, you guys have heard me say this a lot. I do hate the Chargers, and I hate the Chiefs, and I hate the Raiders. But that's only because we're supposed to hate those teams. As our Mahai prophet says, you know, thou shalt not cheer for a division rival, or I forget how the commandment goes specifically. But he's 100% correct when he says, "Thou shalt not cheer for a division rival." Never. And Raider Shield says, "I want NFL collabs with all creators to grow our division." I wholeheartedly agree. You know, and we're already thankful that you support the guys over at the Wild Wild West podcast. So you being there, you being here, and you doing your own thing is always great. And he also says, "Can't seem to find many Charger creators." The only Charger creator I know is on the Wild Wild West podcast. That's the only one I know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm again, please reach out to me as well. I'm more than happy to go on and do some collabs. I'm all about it.
I don't know, Leroy. I just can't. For every single Chargers game, when the Broncos come to town, you see more orange and blue than you do Chargers colors. Even before they moved to LA and San Diego, you saw it too, especially during the Manning years. I mean, that was just beautiful. Beautiful.
Well, when they were playing in the soccer stadium before they built the SoFi, more than half the stadium was Bronco fans in there.
Mm-hmm. And our own Lindsay Bebo, our good friend Lindsay Bebo, is at every single Charger Broncos game. So I'm also trying to get her to come on the show, mind you. I still have to work out a day with her. She's just so extremely busy. So, but I promise you, one of these days I will try to zone in a date with her that works with her schedule, so she can come back and be a host guest at the show. She's always welcome. She knows that. But I will say, Raider Shield. I don't know how much time you have left here with us. I'll just give you a quick story. Everybody else has already probably heard me tell the story. But when I went to Las Vegas for the first time last year for my birthday, and I had a great time in Vegas. It's a lot more expensive than people made it out to be. But I went to Legion Stadium, and I had a fantastic time. You know, I think the nice part was that as soon as I got to the tailgate, like, it was Broncos and Raiders fans mixed together. But there was a bit of respect because nobody was talking smack to each other. We were all watching the red zone on the screen, and it was, you know, people just, you know, drinking beer and talking football, and it was windy as hell. So for most, this was in January, by the way. So like for most people that live in Vegas, this was like cold for them. But I'm from the Midwest, so I felt almost right at home. But it wasn't until when we started walking into the stadium where they divided, like the Raiders fans were walking on one side and the Broncos fans were walking on another, where we were just yelling stuff at each other, you know, like, you sucked, and this player sucks, and this player better than that. And it was like so amazing. It was amazing to me, and it was funny because I'm like, weren't we all just friends like a couple minutes ago? And now we're walking down into the stadium and we're just talking smack to each other. But that just goes to show you how much the rivalry goes between these two teams and their fans. And I think some of those people probably drove from Mile High to Las Vegas. I knew I flew there, and other people probably flew there. But the inside of Allegiant Stadium, there's so much black and white, it hurts my eyes. I'm not going to lie to you. It could really use a couple of touch-ups of orange and blue, give it some color, so it pops. But it was, I had a great time, even though we lost, and I was just lucky enough and thankfully enough that I was surrounded by Broncos fans, even way up in the cheap seats, so as they call them. And the funny thing is right after that game ended, as soon as I got up, my seat went from $100 to like over $2,000 because the Super Bowl tickets were about to go on sale. And I Googled it while I looked it up while I was at the airport when I was getting ready to fly back home. And yeah, that exact same seat was like $2,000. I think over $2,000 for the Super Bowl. So I was like, man, that's crazy how fast that went.
It's just crazy just to think, because I remember during the 2015 season when the Broncos made it in, and all season ticket holders are put into a lottery to get tickets at face value. One of my friends, one of the guys that sit next to me, he actually got his name was pulled, and just for up the third level seats for one ticket was $1,500. But when you went to the stadium there in Santa Clara, people were out there selling the tickets for like $10,000 a seat. And people paid it, because I had a friend of mine, he actually paid $10,000 for a seat, which is ridiculous. But he was able to see Peyton Manning go out there, win Super Bowl 50 for us, have Von Miller going and wrecking havoc and whatnot. But it's just crazy that secondary market itself. I just wish that the NFL catered more to the fans for the Super Bowl as opposed to the corporate world itself, because that's all you see is like, you don't see the craziness that you see during the regular season or the playoffs. Super Bowl, it's like really mellow, especially in the lower bowl area, just because of how much those tickets do really cost.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I wish I could sit here and tell you that I can afford season tickets, but if I were to sign up for it today, Libre, and for some like lottery ticket of a chance, I get an email next year saying like, oh, you can buy your tickets now. I don't have that type of money, man.
That's why you just start putting away $5-10 a week, or every 2 weeks. Put it into a savings account. Don't even look at it.
And it was just, and then I'd have to sit here thinking, I'm like, well, how the hell am I going to go to all these games when I don't even live in Denver? So I'd only be able to go to like maybe, I don't even know if half of them, probably a quarter of them. So it'd be one of those things where I'd have to live in Denver to consider buying tickets or signing up for season tickets, and I'll more likely be more gray than I am now by the time I qualify. Would it be my turn, depending on how long that waiting list is. But I can only imagine it's pretty long, Libre.
I've heard recently they've been quoting people anywhere from 13 to 15 years. Again, you never know what could happen. I know the Broncos do have a 99.9% renewal rate, so it doesn't come up often, especially when Peyton Manning was here. The Broncos were quoting people that were putting their name at that time 20 plus years at that time. Still, you never, it's still not as long as the Packers. Theirs is 30 plus years. Fans put their kids, once they're born, on their wait list just to be able to get them. And it's crazy the way this is something that I found out when I was in Green Bay for the game when the Broncos played Green Bay out there 4 years ago, is that you can only get season tickets if you have an address either in Green Bay or in Milwaukee. And the way that they do it is that they have two different packages. So you only get half the games, but they have it split up where you're on a green package or a gold package. And it, depending on if you live in Green Bay, you get one package. And then if you live in Wisconsin, you get the other package itself. But it's only because when Green Bay came in and started playing, they were playing in Wisconsin, and then they moved to Green Bay. So that I think that's how they made it fair for the people out there. But you can only get half the game. So I heard that there were some people that say, yes, I have an address there in Green Bay, and I have an address in Wisconsin or in Milwaukee, so that they could have both of the packages so that they can go to all 10 games every year. I was like, dang, that's crazy. But you have to have an address in each spot in order to be even considered to have season tickets.
Oh, wow. See, yeah. I'm pretty sure every team has like their own system, Libre, where it's like you got to live in the area, or you got to do this, or you got to do that.
With the Broncos, you don't, because they've came out. It's like several years ago when I've heard this, and they put out where we had a season ticket holder in all 50 states that lived in all 50 states. You know, at least one person in each of the states that was a season ticket holder for the Broncos. So, as long as you can afford the tickets and pay for it, then you're in. It's not like Green Bay. You have to have the address there. So it's only different with them because they don't have an ownership group like anybody else. It's that the city owns, like the fans basically owns the team.
Right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to cut it a little bit short tonight, just for the simple fact that I'm still in shock. And I think I'm going to be riding this high for the rest of the night. And as you guys know, the longer we stay on the air, the hungrier our good friend Libre gets. So I want to make sure he doesn't miss out on his dinner. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to end the show by asking you to please once again show your support for us here on the Orange and Blue Network. Subscribe, share, comment, and like if you've liked anything that you've heard us talk about today or any of the previous shows in general. Your support definitely is very well appreciated and much, much well liked. Also, please make sure you show support for your friends over at the MHRT Network. Make sure you subscribe, share, comment, and like on this show through their platform if you're watching us through there. And you can go check out all of their shows over there as well. As I said earlier today, there is so much Broncos content to go around. So even when we are not live, there's so many shows you can watch and catch up on until we come back live on the air. But again, your support is very, very well appreciated to help us spread the word out to everybody in Broncos country. And I did forget to send out a special shout out to our friends watching us on Broncos World Order earlier. I do apologize. I promise you it's not personal. It's just I'm getting old and I can't remember everything I do throughout the day. Write it down. Yeah. So shout out to you guys watching us through the Broncos World Order Facebook page and throughout Broncos country as well. And George Carmona, this is a name I don't Carmona. I hope I said your name right. He says, good stuff tonight.
Yes, sir. Hey, and then everyone as well. Like, please go out, go and support our boy there, Raider Shield. Support him as well. And again, if we're talking about football family, this is going to be a great opportunity for everyone to get more content out there. And again, like we said, great banter, fan of fans, and let's do that as well.
Agreed. And thank you to everybody that was in the chat today. As Libre stated, Paul Schaefer, Raider Shield, George Carmona. Hope I didn't misspell your last name. D-Rock, of course, as always. And
my boy Shy.
Nick Dennison. And everybody in the TikTok world. In the TikTok world. Thank you guys so much for your support as well. Also, please make sure you use the code NRWOB10 to get your 10% off on all your favorite W products at checkout. Thank you to W for being a continued sponsor of this show and all the shows here on the network. And thank you to the guys over at the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue for that cool code 10% off, which again is NRWOB10 to get 10% off at checkout. For those of you listening to us on the audio format versions of this show, please make sure you give your 5-star reviews. Are always well appreciated. You can screenshot and send it to our socials, our Twitter handles you see there at the bottom. Mine is at a 6'10" Mexican. Bronco Libre is at Bronco Libre 5280. And of course, wherever it is you're listening to us on the Spotify, if you'd want to be a monthly donator, you can always hit up that link. There should be a link through the Spotify for Anchor Act, or I forget what it's called. But if you go through the app, there's a link if you want to be a monthly donator of this show. Always well appreciated. For any business inquiries, you can email at broncostalk2020@gmail.com. And friendly reminder once again that we will not be here next week. We're taking next week off from both shows, from this show and Viva Los Broncos. Again, make sure you guys watch us this Friday at 7 o'clock Central, 6 Mountain Time, 8 o'clock Eastern, and 5 Pacific. So, and please keep in mind that is an all Spanish podcast. So we will not be saying anything in English from start to finish. It's all in Spanish. So please make sure you let your Spanish speaking Broncos friends know, or you can more than welcome to sit with a translator right next to you, like I think D-Rock and Johnny Baki do on Friday nights. So please make sure you mark that down on your calendars. We will be back on July the 2nd. Just a few days before the 4th of July weekend kicks off and everybody takes off. So we want to make sure we are good and ready and, a little bit freshened up and a little bit more charged up for you guys when we hit the airwaves back. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, he's Bronco Libre. I'm Adan Diaz. This has been Broncos Talk on the Orange and Blue and MHRT Network. So with that being said, we say good night, good day to you whenever it is you're listening to us. And as always, go Broncos!
Go Broncos!
Woo!